Welcome back, everyone, to Piney Plays the Scholar, and today we are here in Celondim, and we have this elf that wishes to speak with us.
You may be of service to me.
As I said, I am sorry to intrude upon your reflection, but perhaps you can speak to Carnivore in Celondim proper? He seems quite worried about something, and from what I know of the tales of your bravery, you may be able to help him. You may find him on the piers, not far from here. I don't know what she's heard about my tales of bravery, seeing that I've just spent the last 3,000 years bedridden. I suppose that they have not had an opportunity to slightly change it for the case of high elves. Hello there. And here is Carnivore at the behest of Carnivore.
My heart cannot sing today.
Ah, hello there. We have not had time to get acquainted. My name is Carnivore, and you are? Oh, my name is Saniello.
Will you lend me your ear?
I have heard that you are well traveled. I'm sorry, I've traveled much in the last 3,000 years. Perhaps you have seen my son, Avarthal, on your journeys? I received a message from him saying that he was coming from Doyland to visit, but he has not yet arrived. This is most unlike him. In his journeys here, he often speaks with the travelers along the road that visits the Vale of Nen Heath with a friend of his, a dwarf named Othel. Othel watches the road and helps the few dwarf travelers who come to Celondim. Perhaps Arvadil is speaking with him now and was simply forgotten his time. Would you seek him? Head across the woods southwest of Celondim to the Vale of Nin Heath. There you'll find a small camp of elves there. If you do not find Arvadil there, perhaps you'll find Othel. If so, speak with Othel and see what news you may have of Arvadil. All right, I suppose we can do that. Now, I do have a quest in my log. Outfitting yourselves and others to visit the Crafter's Terrace. And this I think I should do because I am when I remember to properly name this series. Oh, we also have this thing.
Mind my words, traveller.
Oh, welcome to Falathlorn, Sun Yellow. Okay. Falathlorn, Yellow. You can see the harbor city of Celondim up the hill to the northeast, and the refuge of Dwyland farther to the north. But I can see that you have a desire to fashion goods, to practice your ability to create things of substance of use. Actually, I have a desire to catch up with my reading, which has fallen back about 3,000 years. And I know Elrond's books did their best to help me on that, such as hopefully give me a little course on Westron for those who've been asleep for the 3,000 years. And yeah, there it is. And how to find your way around this. Now, I think city is a bit strong for that. All right, let's see.
May Govanen.
Well, there's sometimes where you don't need to read the quest text. Important storyline stuff, yes, but the graph stuff, okay.
Sweelad Melon, will you stay a moment?
You must be Sun Yellow. I have been awaiting your arrival, and I'm very excited. It is. Did you see my letter that found you? Well, I am Golfidinir, and I am pleased to make your acquaintance. And yes, I am pleased to butcher your name. And we will take Scholar, which is Historian, Scholar, Weaponsmith, and Farmer.
Sweelad Melon.
And he gives me 3 quests to farm.
May Govanen,
Oh,
might
scholar.
you spare a moment of your time?
Actually, I'm just going to take the scholarship one so that we don't spend all day doing crafting quests, because I'm sure that would really, really excite you. Saying, oh, wow, oh, crafting quest. I've never seen anything better. Yeah, right. Okay.
Sweelide Melon.
If you are looking for guidance and scholarship, then I am prepared to offer you direction. I just need to know the best books for reading to catch up on 3,000 years of sleep. Alright, there we go. Just take up the magnifying glass. Then we get our Apprentice Scholar starter pack, which is an early Third Age relic. Well, I missed the entire Third Age just about, so I guess that's useful. And an age scrapped of text. Hopefully it's not too old, because it's from the Second Age. Well, I probably already know that stuff. Alright, let's get going. Now, for scholars, you don't need a real workbench or anything like that at the early levels. And so I am supposed to make a minor scholar lore. Well, yeah. I guess it's doing making new copies so that the old copies are better or something like that. In other words, the old copy is getting old, so you gotta make new copies of it. So, okay, let's make one of these. And voila.
Greetings to you.
May I see the scroll you penned? Your script is elegant, and there is nothing wrong with the scroll. You are well on your way towards becoming a scholar. Well done. It's more like well done in becoming a scribe, I think, but okay. I suppose in these times one might lead to the other. So let us head up there and find that person up there, and we could have our discussion of the day. Oh, I better... There you go. Just in case I find anything. So where were we? Oh yes, last time we talked about language drift. Today, I wanted to speak about how everyone speaks a little bit differently. That's right. When you run into a couple of people here and there, most likely none of them are going to be talking in exactly the same way. Oh, that's an anthem. And in fact, that's how we identify people. We know one person from the other because of the slightly different pitch, or the slightly different rate, or the slightly different word usage. Everyone speaks a little bit differently from everyone else. And in fact, that's probably one of the things that's responsible for language drift, is that everybody speaks a little bit differently. And let's see some examples of that. Well, first of all, pronouncing letters differently. Okay, yeah, I know letters are arbitrary things that are assigned to sounds, but when you speak a word, if you pronounce the word differently, sometimes the word can be pronounced differently enough where it looks like that it's the word that usually probably drifted, and that the spelling was assigned back before the drift or something like that, perhaps. Sometimes borrowing words and stuff like that could cause weird spellings also. Let's face it, English has plenty of real weird spellings, which I'm sure we'll get to in about an episode or 50. Now, let's say the word Celondim. You remember that word? That was what we were saying right at the beginning of the episode. Celondim. I'm using a hard C on that. And that is because Tolkien says that in his Elvish languages, the C's are always hard, as in classical Latin. As in classical Latin, C's are always hard. They're not always hard today. Not even Latin-based languages. Hello there, Othel.
Greetings, traveler.
Nay, I am still here waiting for Averthal. He requested I meet him here at the Vale of Ninhilith, and has not yet arrived. I meant to enter the vale myself, but the elves bade me not to enter, and being that Avarthal is not here to speak for me, I dare not risk angering them. I am sorry that I cannot be of more help. All right.
Welcome. You've come at a most fortuitous time.
It is not like Avarthal to be late, at least not without sending word, nor to put aside his usual habits. Still, he has spent much time contemplating in recent days. When Avarthal desires solitude for a quiet thought, he spends much time beneath the white trees of this vale. Perhaps he is amongst them now, unbeknownst of anyone. Would you go there and find him? I would, of course, but I cannot defy the will of the elves. Make your way into the vale of Ninhilith and search for a sign of Avarthal. I pray that you find him hale and hearty, and if not, perhaps you'll find some sign of him, like his backpack. Okay, fine. So let's find either Avarthal or his pack. Good. Hello there. What did I do?
What can I do for you?
Megavonin! Lenin has you fighting back sickleflies? Oh, good. It has been necessary to drive them out of the forest. Alright, so I get a weapon. Now, it looks like a knife is. Now, question is what kind of weapons I'm going to favor. I'm going to favor sidearms. That'd be knives and swords. Because I think that a minstrel, that's probably all that a minstrel can use anyway. But the idea there is that sidearms make sense for a minstrel to have because normally I'll be holding a musical instrument. So therefore I need something that could plausibly be put aside. Swords and daggers are designed to be put aside. So therefore, and have a main weapon with you. So therefore, sidearms would be my plan on this character. But looks like for now it's going to be a dagger, though normally it will be a sword. Hello there.
Will you lend me your ear?
Your arrival heralds the time of hope. We have yet to discern what caused the wolves of the empty into the valley. Perhaps with your assistance, we will soon learn the reason behind this invasion. The two other glade wardens here, Glavronin and Helhathen, will explain their tasks set before them. Alright. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce these names, because if I'm going to be emphasizing talks about linguistics and stuff like that, I figure butchering names and seeing how close I could get them to come out right is just part of the plan. It's part of what I need to do. Said, everyone says things a little bit differently. This is one of the things. If you have something that's hard to pronounce, people are inevitably going to be saying it differently. And those are the words that often become slurred or some other thing as a result. Like, my name is Saniello. I think it's possible that maybe back when my mother named me, I was called Sananiello, because that would have been a more literal way of saying Pine Singer, Pine Scholar would have been, Pine Singer. Pine Singer, Sananiello. Yeah, and that, I really can't say all that well. Maybe a Spaniard could say it pretty easily since they've got that sound in their language. But, if it happens at certain points in the words, it's not too much of a problem, but I think in my name it doesn't. So, Sananiello. Alright. So I think it probably over time became slurred to Saniello. It's a little bit easier in this particular word. A and Y is a little bit easier, at least on the English one, because we have words like canyon. So therefore we can say it there. So Saniello is how it seems like it comes down to me. So if I was spelling it in Spanish, I would probably S-A-N-E-E-L-L-O instead of N-Y.
Mind my words, traveller.
Our efforts here to recover the land from the new threat, that is clear. We are also here at the behest of our kinsmen. In Celondim, there is a vintner who wants only to make the final offering to the store enough wine to survive our journey to the west. I have offered to recover enough wood to build such a cask. We would need to search the wood in the vale for wood that has not yet been spoiled by the sickle flies. So we need to find good wood.
Mind my words, traveler.
Make a bond, minstrel. I overheard your discussions with Overlost, and I hope that you are willing to assist me. This vale has once a place of inspiring beauty where we come to commune with our nature. It has fallen far from those days since the incursion of the wolves. Yes, it is unclear where the wolves came from or why they chose to dwell in this valley, but it is clear that they must be removed. Yes, so let's remove wolves. So you run into these slightly different things. You know, now slightly different things. I mean, even within families and all that stuff. But of course, further you go from those, is the more you run into the greater differences you have. Let's take the word route. That's one of the more famous ones. Some parts of the country you say route. Some parts of the country you say route. And some people will use them interchangeably. Some will use them under certain circumstances and other circumstances. For example, if I'm telling you that I'm going from point A to point B and how I get there, I'll probably say I took that route. So that's what I'll say. This is the route I took. If I am talking about a road number, though, I'll probably say route. So I say route 66 instead of though some people might say route 66. They're essentially the same word because they have because one is the road you're taking in order to go along, and the other one you're talking in general rather than specifically. So they're the same word, but depending on the context, I would pronounce them differently. And in fact, there's some where you might say them differently depending on even words nearby. Like the and the or something like that. So you have things that go along there, and people will say them differently. And sometimes the same person will differently in context and the like. And you also have cases in people using the same word differently in words like on slurring or not to slur. For example, let's say cursed, cursed. Normally, in prose at least, you would slur the word, slur the ending of the word. So say cursed, and you won't split it out into two syllables as you won't say cursed normally in prose. You occasionally might hear it at Ren fairs or something like that, but normally you're speaking everyday prose speech. You don't say cursed, you say cursed. But if you are writing poetry and you need to get your syllable count correct, you may say cursed because you need the extra syllable there. It's as in the Man and the Moon Stayed Up Too Late by Tolkien, where it mentions that they also keep a horned cow as proud as any queen because Tolkien needed an extra syllable. You needed a horned cow because it wouldn't be right if you said horned cow. You'd have a clash of syllables there. So therefore, in music and in poetry, you would still occasionally pronounce the syllable even though it is generally not. So therefore, yeah, as I said, everyone does things a little bit differently, and sometimes the same person will say it differently depending upon the context. Oh, I found the satchel. Good thing I didn't miss that. It's in different places depending upon the. Essentially, it responds in different areas whenever you use it. There we go, and there we go. And then you have several other words. It's like when I also talked about time being also a difference in there. Oops. That the word Q, for example. When I was young, never heard of the word. I was introduced to the word as a technical word. And then it later more and more became popular as a standard word, whether from the technical word or from words being imported from the other side of the Atlantic because of globalization. I'm not sure which one, but perhaps a combination of both of them. And technical words is another place where you see it, because sometimes you'll speak differently depending on whether you're talking formally, informally, technical, all sorts of different times like this. You'll use a different type of word usage. If you're being formal, you'll use different words than if you're with your friends or you're giving a speech with your colleagues, because with your colleagues, using technical words is fine. If we're talking about with the profession you're in, if you are talking with friends who are in completely different professions, you're not going to use technical words from your profession. You're going to avoid them probably. If you're giving a speech, unless the speech is before colleagues, of course, you're not going to use technical words because you don't want to confuse the people in the lecture. So those are things to do. Now, the other nice thing that you use for this and how everyone speaks differently is you could use it for characterization. And let's turn these in first.
What do you need?
Nature calls once again from the veil. I can feel the corset through my being. We cannot rest on this virtue, but you have brought hope to this art. Now, this is the strange thing. Wolves in a veil are natural. I'm just saying, wolves are completely natural creatures. The lack of wolves to me sounds a little bit unnatural to an area like this. Now, could be that too many wolves could be unnatural, but whatever. But I would say a single pack of wolves for a veil that size would be reasonable. But of course, we are talking about Tolkien here, and wolves aren't exactly the most honored of creatures.
What do you need?
Yes, this is the wood we certainly do. This should please the Cooper and the Vintner both. The white ships will certainly now be supplied with the finest wine of Ered Luin. Fine. Too bad I won't be able to sample it.
Will you lend me your ear?
Now that you have collected the wood, I would ask a favor of you. The Cooper and Celondim Brigadour needs the wood to craft his casks. I would ask that you seek him out at the highest levels of Celondim. Yes, alright, I shall do so. Alright, I have here. Oh, this is. Oh, take care of both those. You have done well, Sun Yellow. Oh, we will keep vigil over Ninhilith, and I think you are needed elsewhere. Alright, and we've got this hat, which is. Right, well, it has better armor. And it's got vitality instead of will, but that never hurts. So take that. And what do we have here? Make sure I did it. Yeah, alright, that's right. And now I have this other thing here, iron collar. Yes, looking closely at this crude collar, you can see that it's not the handiwork of elves or dwarves. Perhaps Overdust will be able to discern it. Okay.
What can I do for you?
I know this handiwork. It is the handcraft of goblins. You must inform the others of Celondim. If the goblins have grown this aggressive, then we must do what we can to drive back from there. Now, this is, of course, unnatural then, is
Mind my words, traveler.
that the wolves were brought in by goblins. So we have an overpopulation of wolves due to the work of goblins. And overpopulation of wolves, of course, means hungry wolves beyond what the area can support. Now I can see why you'd be driving back the wolves. Okay. But before I had that evidence... Yeah, we cannot let another moment pass without informing the others of your arrival. Perhaps Lord Dorngur's protection is weakening as we make our way to the shores to depart, or perhaps the enemy grows stronger faster than we expected. Regardless, we must send word back to Celondim and my superior there. Quickly return to Lanlin and the Glade Watcher at Celondim and tell him what you have found. Alright. And of course we've got this satchel here and no elf.
I am at your service.
This is Aberthos back, I am certain. I fear that something untoward has befallen my friend. Please, take this to Carvador and tell him that I'll do whatever I can to help my friend, his son. Alright, fine. Good. Now we've taken care of all of that. Let us head back and close out. Now, characters in classes, in books and stuff like that, you could tell by their patterns. so you don't even have to hear their voice. And usually they have very distinctive patterns, so it's exaggerated a little bit, and they do that so you could tell them who they are. Gollum, for example, who uses his reduplicated plurals, hobbitses, goblinses, and the like, those are used to make him distinctive. Yoda's notorious for his use of, I think it's verb, object, subject in how he speaks. It's very unusual in the English language. So therefore, we know you're either depicting Yoda usually when you speak in that manner in English. And that is it for today. When we return next time, we are going to speak with that Cooper. We are going to speak with the Cooper. We're going to finish up these other quests. We still have one of those other areas to head off towards that we had skipped in this area. And maybe finish up Celondim if we have a chance. And who knows, maybe I'll get around to using up selecting my option, because they are trying to beg me to do my specialization. So I need to take care of that. Take care of my specialization, finish up Celondim, and perhaps one or two other tasks. But that's what we'll do in our next episode of Piney Plays the Scholar.